Здравствуйте, my fair weather friends, and welcome to another installment of Kachimoochi's Game and Spooks. Today's episode is what you would call a Theorypasta about one of the best video games made of all time, Fallout New Vegas. This story is a series of detailed descriptions about a rather esoteric gameplay feature in Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas. And the best part about this story? Every single bit of it is true. And so, without any further ado, let us begin. Heartbreak Hotel. Fallout 3 is known to have some pretty unsettling locations. Sites like Vault 106 and the Dunwich Building are practically infamous for their levels of horror in what is an otherwise action-oriented franchise. However, there are also examples of a more subtle form of horror right under most players' noses. One of the best examples, though, may not just come from Fallout 3, but its sequel, New Vegas. If you've played New Vegas, chances are you're familiar with the hotel and casino called the Bison Steve. It's a Fallout parallel of the Buffalo Bill in the real town of Prim. Early in the story, you are expected to go into the Bison Steve and rescue a hostage from a gang of escaped criminals who have turned the building into their own hideout. You don't have to do it, of course. If you skip past this section and head on down the road, events still trigger to allow the main quest to catch up to you. However, the chances are good that most players will go through it, at least once, if not only because that is where the quest marker points them. How often do players really look at the building, though? Not just searching for loot, but how often do we as players pay attention to all the little details in the scenery? Poke around in the rooms upstairs, and you'll start to see signs that the Bison Steve was not a happy place. Even before the convicts moved in, it wasn't a happy place. Even before the bombs fell, it wasn't a happy place. Most players will probably find the ransom note. Of course, it's on a holotape, making it an obvious collectible, and hard to miss. Look around a bit, though. See what else you can see. Did you find a skeleton on the ground near a desk, a discarded gun on the floor, and a trail of old blood leading away from the head? Did you notice the other skeleton lying on the blood-soaked mattress in the same room? Why do you suppose they're like that? Is it the remains of a centuries-old murder-suicide? What about the skeleton in the tub? Its arm is over the side. Did you notice that there's a bunch of chems, Fallout's drugs, and a switchblade lying next to that tub? It's almost as though the person that skeleton belongs to was trying to take something to dull their sense of pain, then slit their wrists. There are other places like this too, like a skeleton with a helmet along the sides of one of New Vegas's lonely roads, the rusted wreckage of a motorcycle nearby. Other signs of suicide too, if you know where to look, and if you're of a mind to be looking. With such a vast and open world, isn't it strange? So many bodies carefully laid out, the forensic evidence carefully laid out. It's been preserved for centuries in that world, just so you could see it. Of course, Fallout is just a game. It's not as though New Vegas was a real place. Doesn't that mean someone had to place them all, though? Just what sort of person must they be to have thought of so many ways and reasons for people to die? Why even go through so much trouble for something so few players would even pay attention to? Someone had to approve it for the game to have an official corpse placer. Just one last thing. Did you ever notice how at the wreckage of Ringo's caravan and at the raided ranger station, it is only the female characters' bodies that have been stripped of all of their items? Food for thought. The end. And that was Heartbreak Hotel. And as I said, every single bit of it is true. I suppose I can only speak for myself, but whenever I play the Fallout games, often I don't always pay attention to my surroundings. I'm always just looking for that extra stim pack, or pile of bottle caps. However, Bethesda takes years to create their Fallout games, and that was only a fraction of what Obsidian, the contractor who made Fallout New Vegas, had to develop their own game. Perhaps that makes it all the more chilling, knowing on what kind of deadline Obsidian had. They still found the time to leave these, shall we say, nuclear shadows. Some of the ones I took the time to pay attention to was the bank robbers in Fallout 3 Lookout Point, the person in the bathroom of the Aerotech building who commits suicide with a brand new 356 Magnum, and inside one of the ski lodges while both of them were playing poker. And if you look upon their cards, you'd see one of them was cheating and was murdered just before the bombs fell. It is indeed a chilling thought that somebody, who either works for Obsidian or Bethesda, was of a mind to create all of these murder or death scenarios. Or perhaps it is even more chilling that us as players ignore them in search of the wasteland valuables we seek to gain. Perhaps that says more about us than it does them. Thank you very much for listening to this installment of Kachimoochi's Game in Spooks. Why not do us a kindness and leave a comment or subscribe? This has been Kachimoochi, and that's about all I have to say about that. Farewell.